All right, folks, let's get the show started. Welcome to SEO Hangouts with Josh Bashinsky. I would be the aforementioned Josh Bashinsky. SEO Hangouts is the best show on YouTube about SEO. We use stringent scientific methods to tell what the ranking factors are. And today I have a special presentation for you. Is SEO science dead? Google has made a very interesting update since the Florida update, which was March 12th or 13th, just a few weeks ago. It's a very important update. I would say it's as important as the Hummingbird update in June of 2013. It's probably, quite possibly, the most important update they'd ever done. And so I know that's a big claim, and so I'm going to kind of try and discuss a little bit why I think that's the case. Not only do they put ranking changes in the front-facing kind of area, what's going on, people are seeing links being a much bigger factor. I saw keywords and social being a bigger factor as well. But they did a lot of changes, and what I'm going to talk about today is the changes they made behind the scenes as far as we can intuit them, as far as we can see them through our scientific testing. They did a lot of changes to the rank and sort and indexing. The discovery process, the crawl process, the indexing process, the fetching process, the sorting process, and the multivariate indices that Google is using. And so I'm going to be providing information about that today. If you have any SEO questions, you can ask them at the top right-hand side. If you're watching live on YouTube, I will try to answer any SEO questions that you might have. And also, if I have time, if you have a site you want me to audit for you, if you have a site you want me to take a 10,000-foot view, take a look at what's going on there, by all means, put them in the chat in the top right-hand side. And I would love to get to them. If you could put some asterisks beside them so I could see them with my giant Coke bottle glasses, that would be fantastic. Otherwise, I might not be able to see those questions for me there. So as I mentioned, I have a presentation for you guys today. So I'd like to get right to that. And if you guys, as I said, if you have any questions, please ask them in the YouTube chat, and I'll get there in a second. So let me go into... Now, I'm also trying to learn OBS at the same time, so let me go into OBS here and turn on the display capture. Here we go. Okay. So, my presentation is single variable testing in a post-Florida multivariate sorting world. I think they've moved to a multivariate sorting. They always had multivariate sorting, but I think the multivariate sorting is even more extreme. As I said in the lead-in, they've since the Florida update, which was March 13 to around 28th, they did change many front-facing ranking factors. But as I said, they also did a complete revamp. I think this is a complete algo rewrite. I think this is a complete revamp of how they index pages. In fact, I think that we're now in the Skynet era. I think we're now in the era that we've been watching for a few years, and every SEO knew was coming. I think we're in the era where the AI is making most of the decisions. I don't know if they have any more human quality raters, or they're using that to train the data. I think the AI is training the data much more effectively. And now, what effect does this have on scientific testing? Well, actually, sadly, this has a huge effect on scientific testing. Scientific SERP testers, the SERP stands for Search Engine Results Page, so Google's search results page. Scientific SERP testers not paying close attention to exactly how this works with their 5-page test SERP method, and you need to use that method to see what's going on. The leaderboard method won't show you. Sadly, will have completely missed it. So I want to make this clear that Google, I think it's quite possible Google could be attacking us scientific testers because they have completely changed how the scientific environment works. And sadly, none of the tests can be trusted any longer if you do not understand this multivariate sorting, if you do not understand this multivariate environment that we're now testing in. And if you weren't watching from March 13th to March 28th, I'm afraid if you weren't paying attention every day and doing these whatever 10-page, 5-page, 7-page test SERPs, SVE method that I've detailed in previous Hangouts. You can go back a few Hangouts and watch that PowerPoint where I explained how that works. I'm afraid that if these testers were not paying attention, that they're going to completely miss what happened. And sadly, now that they've turned off the previous Search Console, We have no way really of telling. It's much harder. I'm afraid with this recent backend algo change, Google has now obscured and hidden the ability to start to see the multivariate indexing algorithms for what they are, and thus to try to reverse engineer them to test in a predictable behavior environment. You might be wondering, what's the problem? The problem is that Google's seemingly randomly changing things, and I'm going to show an example of that. And if you don't know how to read the multivariate environment, then all of your tests are going to give you false positives and false negatives at random. And so this is a tremendous problem. This is a tremendous error. You should hear gunshots going off. You should hear a bomb being dropped. This is quite possibly the death of SEO science if you do not know how to do the multivariate sort. My group does. We do. We were watching this very closely, and we just happened on it in the way that we do our testing. That window of opportunity to understand how it works and how Google has now clinched it up and hidden it is sadly past, I believe. And so this is another reason why all the other current SEO science groups results are sadly, it's very sad, now completely unreliable. As I said, they will give false positive negatives seemingly at random. That is to say, if they can even get their pages reliably discovered, crawled, indexed, and sorted. There's 4 levels they have to get past: discovery, crawling, indexing, and sorting. And there's 3+ ways or levels that multivariably modifies those 4 original parameters. So if you're doing the math, that gets to be quite a lot of different. It's 4 to the 3 exponent plus, as far as I can see. There's a lot of different random sorts that are going on and random things that are going on. And if you haven't been doing this kind of testing for the last year, as I have, doing over 250 tests, and if you in general, if you haven't been watching in this last couple of weeks in particular, you probably have missed it. I don't really follow the other science groups very much. I don't know if they've picked this up. I doubt they've picked this up, but I hope they've picked this up. But it's definitely very important, and their testing is all going to be wrong if they don't know these differences and changes. I hope they've found it. I hope they've seen it. But you might ask, okay, well, is that SEO science dead, Josh? Should we basically hang it up? It's just time to go to paid traffic? Well, I'm going to say something interesting. If you haven't looked into paid traffic yet, you definitely should. It's not for the weak of heart. It's not for those who don't like data science, because there's even more data science in paid traffic. And paid traffic is any kind of paid traffic, from Google AdWords to Facebook to anybody else's ad system, to like people who've installed strange plugins that draw traffic off of Plenty of Fish, or different kind of traffic, like adult traffic, all those different kinds of regular traffic, gambling traffic, all those kinds of traffic. I'm going to say something kind of weird, and maybe that might scare you a bit, and it probably should. If you haven't looked into paid traffic yet, you probably should. But no, SEO science is not dead, even for the SEO benefits at this point. But no, SEO science is not dead, and my group does look into paid traffic, and if you want to get more into paid traffic, join my group. It's the one-stop shop for everything you might possibly want for SEO these days. It's at secretseo.guru. But no, SEO science is not dead. If you understand how to trigger the multivariate behavior, if you know what the switch is and how to flip the switch, which I do and our group does, and our peer science group has figured this out and checked each other's tests, and we're like, okay, we see. It's very, very sneaky and very tricky. No one else will ever figure it out. But if you understand I'm afraid, if you understand the multivariate behavior, you can predict the results. So I'm going to show this to you in a way of peer reviewing a previous test that was done by another tester who I'm not going to mention. I'm not going to get into that. I'm just going to say this is just a peer review of a previous test that was done. And I'm going to show you not only how the multivariate environment works, but how you can run single variable tests in a multivariate environment. So here's the example of a single variable test I'm going to do. And the question is, as with any good piece of science, you always need a hypothesis first. If you don't have a testable theory, if you don't have a testable hypothesis, then it is not science. I just have to repeat this again, because people seem to have trouble understanding this. If you do not have a testable theory, if you do not have a testable hypothesis, then it's not science. I don't care how much math you use. I don't care how much random math you throw on the screen. I don't care how many graphs you put on the screen. If you do not have a scientific hypothesis that you're testing, then it's not science. It's something else. It's exercise in masturbatory math is what it is. which is neither interesting scientifically or research scientifically, just so you understand that. So to practice what I'm preaching, the exact hypothesis that I'm testing today is, does an empty section tag, just like the example I have right there, does an empty section tag boost in any way? I just want to make sure you guys can see what I'm doing and talking about here. Okay, yeah, you guys get it. Okay, good. Okay, so the empty section tag is what I'm testing here. I put an empty section tag in a test page. It looks exactly like that. If you don't know what the section tag is, it doesn't matter. It's not really important. It's a standard HTML tag, and like probably one of the latest revisions of HTML. And so I'm peer testing a stripped leaderboard method as well in general, because it was a stripped leaderboard method. And if you don't understand what that means, go back to my previous Hangouts. I've explained the different testing methods, and I've compared them and contrasted them and proved and showed which ones are better and which ones are worse. And so I'm also, again, practicing what I preach. I'm peer testing a stripped leaderboard method in general, because these previous tests for the section tag were done in a stripped leaderboard method. And I'm testing an empty section tag in particular. So I'm killing a number of birds with one stone. I'm showing how the multivariate environment still works for a single variable test in a particular peer review of another claim from another SEO practitioner, and peer testing their leaderboard method in general and this particular empty section tag in particular. Their test showed that the section tag beat many, many controls, and though ostensibly, if that method is correct, the stripped leaderboard method is correct, that means that a section tag, an empty section tag, has some ranking juice, some ranking power. In equal pages, that little bit of extra ranking juice, ranking power, should hopefully be able to be confirmed and seen. If you cannot confirm and see it in equal pages that have equal ranking juice, if you can't confirm and see it, well, then you can't confirm that that those leaderboard tests actually show you anything, or that the empty section tag has any juice in particular. Okay, so this was the start of the test, and these are just, I've stripped everything out, of course, so you can't go playing with my test results, of course. If you click them, you will interrupt my test environment, so obviously I have to protect that. I mean, you could find them now. Like maybe there's no other G62 pages out there. I strongly doubt it, or XGP pages out there. You could go search it now if you like. I'm no longer using that serpent page anymore, so go ahead. But this was the start, and G62, the one in red there, G62 was the target. All other are multivariate controls. There is no such thing as a static control or a single control anymore. They're all multivariate controls. And so note that not all my controls are listed on this page, right? This is the complete index out of several indices that you're going to get. So not all the controls are currently listed. Control candidate 206, for example, is not listed there. It will appear later. It's still an important control page depending on what multivariate I'm in. If the target can't beat it, it's another piece of evidence that the tested factor is not a very strong promoting factor, or it is a factor at all. So this was the start of the test before I started everything. Okay, so boom, start test. I started the test. And that's the result. As you can see, it went down and didn't beat any control. And so the first round of testing was done, and it was not looking good for the target page. But that's not, the test isn't over. You might think, okay, test done now. It's not. There's still other environments I need to test this in. There's still a multivariate environment that I need to contend with. And if I didn't understand or even know the multivariate environment existed and how to trigger the different A/B testing phases on and off, then you would conclude that, okay, this was a demoting factor. This is one piece of evidence to suggest it, but it's not the whole story. So to do so, to ping the multivariate environment, I pulled the I flipped the switch, I pulled the trigger, and manually put the test page into another test phase, another multivariate phase, to see if it can beat all controls. Now, what we want to see here, the next one is it going to rise to the top? Is it going to be higher? Does it still beat all the controls, or is it still being beaten by controls? And so I flipped this switch number one into what I'm calling multivariate alpha in relation to this particular test. For those of my peer review who I've talked to about what this means, this is not the multivariate alpha I was talking about before. This is the multivariate alpha environment in relation to the test. So as you can see, it only went up to number 3, third spot down, which is, as I recall, where it started anyway. It started at third down. And so it didn't beat 206, it didn't beat control 45. There's no boost past your original spot. Conclusion is still the same. There's still no boost. In fact, from before, it seems to demote significantly relative to other known multivariable phases. And that's the key, is that the test is now being tested relative to other known multivariable phases. And if you don't know the multivariable phases, then you can't tell what the test is telling you. You can't tell what the relative movement is. But I'm not done yet. There's still, unfortunately, Google, thank you very much, there's still other multivariable phases. So I put it into another, I flipped switch number 2 to put it into multivariate beta. And as you can see, this one looks significantly different, but it's still the same issue. Even this new testing paradigm, not even beating the, if you will, the red-headed stepchild control page 206. The past positive tests in this single variable variant method beat all relevant controls. It has to beat relevant controls in a number of these multivariable environments. And you need to know which one is the deployment environment. And knowing that can be very, very difficult if you hadn't been paying attention and haven't been watching. So the conclusion is, in none of the multivariables did the test candidate G62 beat the controls in the multivariable environment. Therefore, the conclusion is, I cannot confirm that test that claimed that an empty section tag seems to give some ranking juice. It doesn't in any of Google's new multivariable sorting environments. And that's where the AI comes in, is that the AI is choosing these multivariable sorting environments. And if you don't understand the multivariable sorting environments, like in general, they exist now after Florida. This is the biggest update I think they've ever done. Probably the biggest change they've ever done. The complete move to AI. So if you don't understand that in general, or B, you don't understand how it works in particular and how to trigger the phase shifts, you can never conduct single variable testing in a leaderboard or a single variable environment. Now, to contest some critics, they're going to say, isn't this a multivariable test and not a single variable test anymore? The answer is no, surprisingly. Surprisingly, the answer is no. To be clear, the testing is still a single variable test. We are only testing one factor at a time. It is an SV test. Is an SVT. We are only testing one factor at a time. I didn't put 2 tags in there. I put 1 tag in there. The only difference between those pages was the empty section tag. And quite frankly, no tests have shown the need to do any different than that. And many tests, all 250 tests, have shown the opposite, that you only test one thing at a time. So I just want to remind everybody that there are no known multivariable factors, right? There's no known section tag that needs to be compiled in there with a div tag. And when you do that, then you get a bonus. And there's a lot of reasons why they wouldn't do that. In fact, it's kind of impossible if you think about it. Google has admitted since day one they don't use that. They can't use that due to the obvious ×2 compiling reasons, the ×2 ranking boost or minuses it would give you. Multivariate factors are, for that reason, highly problematic, especially with AI. Now that they move to AI, there's no way they could reverse engineer the artificial intelligence if they had multivariable factors. And Google has said specifically, we can't do that. We've never done that. We can't do that. Google's been point blank on that one. And not trusting Google at all, in any way, shape, or form, we've looked for them anyway in over 250 tests, and not to mention sister groups doing testing, and we can't find any. The isolated results simply do not behave that way. If you're looking at in the field and you're saying, oh, I bet you there's a multivariable factor going on here, well, that's you looking in the field. That's you guessing out of your butt. Guessing out of your butt is not science. We've done science, and we've isolated the results. We've isolated the testing, and over 250 tests later, if not 450, if we want to include our sister testing groups, that's not the way it behaves. It's a single variable factor boosting system that's just aggregated on top of each other. +1 for this, +2 for that, +5 for this, +10 for this. Boom. Suddenly you're in page 1, number 1. The key there to understanding it is that we are now trying to rank and now trying to test in a much more complicated AI-chosen, multivariate, discover, crawl, index, sort, A/B test environment. And all those different factors are important. The discovery, the crawling, the indexing, the sorting, the A/B testing. And that's maybe why you guys see things dancing around. Well, that's definitely why you see things dancing around. And that's maybe why some people think that there's a multivariable factor quotient going on. Well, that's not the case. It's not a multivariable factor quotient. That's been tested and refuted. But it is definitely a multivariable environment. And there's multivariables going on in the discovery, the crawling, the indexing, the sorting, and the A/B testing afterwards. Various levels of A/B testing. You could think of it as there's not one index. There's numerous indices. And Google will randomly switch between them. Or seemingly randomly if you don't know what to look for. If you don't know, if you haven't been able to ping the beast, so to speak, and provoke it to kick into a different phase. Which I have. So, to conclude, the empty section tag does not boost. In fact, it appears to demote. Either way, the behavior is not recommended. I don't know why you would want to have an empty section tag in your page anyway. This is further evident to show past leaderboard style testing of stripped pages is just simply not a reliable testing method. With the further, and quite frankly, with the further, and sadly, because I would like to have as many testing avenues as possible. I have no bias against any testing or any testers, actually, for that matter. I would love it if we all worked together and had tests that all work together. It's sadly not the way it's going. And that the tests all worked as well. And unfortunately, these leaderboard style tests are never going to work, especially with stripped pages. Because of this further multivariate indexing problems, this is simply compounded 100%. That testing method is simply dead. Let me show you why. This is a failed test. PXX was the test candidate, and this test failed to prove a boost. Now you might be like, what? How's that possible? It's number 1. But you don't know how to read the multivariable environments. Yeah, it's number 1 in one of the multivariable environments, but that's not the one you need it to be number 1 in. If you don't understand the variable environments, it could randomly be number 5 too, by the way. And if you don't understand the multivariable environments, then you don't understand what you're testing and you cannot conduct the tests. But this happened after maturation. So all leaderboard testing is going to be, if you can even get your pages indexed, which I'm hearing through the grapevine is a difficulty. If you're even having trouble getting your pages indexed, the leaderboard testing will completely and utterly lie. Such as this one here. So I've detailed this exploit I did to get this, to figure out what's going on here. You can check that out if you want. Pause the video, copy it down, whatever you want to do. Go ahead, check that out. There's a major Google exploit in there. A huge Google exploit in there. So check it out quick before Google shuts it down. So to conclude, single variable tests are still possible, and the results are predictable if you understand the multivariate testing environment. And it really only affects testing. It does affect ranking to some degree. Some of the multivariates, like multivariate kappa, multivariate gamma, I've called them. I've named them internally. Those affect ranking, but they don't really affect multivariate alpha, beta, gamma. Alpha and beta don't affect ranking at all. And it's multivariate alpha and beta, which seem to be the ones that are the most important for the testing. Alpha, beta, gamma together are the most important. So gamma is kind of a bridge one that does affect ranking. It doesn't affect ranking, depending on what's going on. But not really. For the most part, it's multivariate kappa, what I'm calling multivariate kappa, which is the deployment environment, which mostly affects pages that are ranking. And that's the one you got to worry about. And so the single variable tests are still possible, and the results are predictable if you understand the multivariate testing environment, and if you know how to toggle them on and off in various modes, so you can confirm what it is you're looking at. And ever since this update's been rolled out, because we do tests on a regular basis, we saw this right away. And knowing what the solid ranking factors were to begin with, we've been able to test factors we know were boosting factors, and we've been able to confirm numerous tests now under this new multivariate environment. So we've confirmed the tests. We are sure enough to continue testing. The results are much more difficult and time-consuming, I will admit. They have to be babied quite a lot. You can't just set it and forget it. You can't just set a test and then come back 3 days later and see what happened. You're going to completely miss, and your results are going to be completely off. But it is also predictable, testable, reliable, and a specialized knowledge and testing group are required. Sadly, this is much more time-consuming. This is much more resource-intensive than previously. So you just, I would recommend. Previously, I was recommending people doing testing on their own. Now I'm saying don't do that. It really is not going to be possible. It's like trying to research cancer on your own. It's not really going to work. You need a team. You need equipment. You need a lab. You need techne, as the ancient Greeks would say, which is the root word for technique and technology. You need the techne. If you don't have the techne, then you're just not going to be able to do it. Sadly, this is the place Google has put us. That's the way it is, I'm afraid. So let's see what kind of questions we have here going on in the chat. Whatever questions you guys have, let me know, and I will take a look. It looks like we got Chase Reiner has called me a nipple sucker. I'm not sure that that's an insult. If he doesn't, then I feel sorry for his girlfriend, I guess, if he has one. Okay, so if you guys have any serious SEO questions or sites you want me to take a look at, please go ahead and take a look here on the top right-hand side, and I will try to get to these. If you have any questions about the presentation as well, I'd be happy to try and address them as much as I can. Sadly, of course, I have to keep some things to my own paid group, of course. So Darlene asks, is this the update from earlier March? Yes. Yes, this is the update from earlier March. I'm afraid it was snuck in there with the Florida update. It was rolled out underneath the ranking factors. Google sadly does that all the time. Google, that wily Google, sadly does that all the time. And I'll give you a little tiny mini Josh in the corner there. Everybody loves mini Josh. Okay. So, yeah, sadly, this was rolled out March 12th and 13th. Jesper says, Skynet rocks. Maybe. I don't know. The previous testing was really, really much easier to do. It really was easier to do there. I don't really like the way it's going on. I see some sites here to take a look at. I'll take a look at those in a second. Chase says, Google is attacking us, LOL. Yeah, it's too bad that Chase doesn't see it. It really is a kind of a dire situation we're in right now. I would recommend, if you're following Chase Reiner, to ditch him immediately. He doesn't really understand what's going on. He doesn't understand science. He doesn't understand that stuff, sadly, as evidenced here by his rather unprofessional comments. Jesper says, seems crazy if Google would attack a relatively small testing society. Yes. He says, but it could be so, but still strange. Yeah. Well, I have some tests in that regard as well to see if that's the case, but which I can update in a future show. But yeah, it is unfortunate, but it's because two things happened. One, Kyle sadly left his rhinoplasty plano test out there in the wind for some jerk in Search Engine Journal to find and then to write about, because the SEO industry that just sells links and then claims they don't and vilifies anyone who does black hat, but they do black hat as well. They sell links. Any of them who are succeeding. Otherwise, they're just doing AdWords, which is not. That's not SEO anymore. That's SEM. They have nothing better to do but out people, sadly. And so he got outed, and that definitely came to Google's attention. Google definitely de-indexed some of his sites. That was documented by him. And now I'm sure they looked into his processes, and now we have problems of people coming, of Google coming after us for these kinds of things. So it is an issue. And the second reason I said because it's so damn effective, and we've been able to prove and provide proven ranking factors. If you go to bit.ly/SEO proof, bit.ly/SEO proof, PROOF. I dare you to go there. I challenge you to go there to look at our results if you haven't seen them before. Those are all results since the major updates last year. And I do recommend you to go to take a look. And I challenge you to find me any other SEO expert or any other SEO group out there that has even close to the same amount of current results with these current updates. And you can look at the dates that I've put them in, and still with these updates and all these crazy Florida changes, we're still getting crazy boosts. And this is only because, is this because I'm a Google whisperer? Is this because I have fancy blue plaid shirts or I have a nice beard? No, it has nothing to do with that. It has nothing to do with me per se, although I am the head tester and I'm PhD, I'm academically trained to do this, so I'm kind of running the testing group. I'm sure that's a factor. But no, it's because of our testing, our peer-reviewed testing group, and because of the quality of our testing. It's called science, and everyone knows that science wins, science works, science provides everything you enjoy, including the screen you're watching this on. And so to deny that is just, again, unprofessional and foolish. In the sense that science works, not that Google is watching us. Jesper, I find it hilarious, and I'm flattered as well, but I think it could very well be the case. They're talking about a Little Mermaid. What's going on? Chicken McTapper will appeal at WrestleMania this Sunday. Wow. Gary Simmons says, you guys should have seen last week when Chase freaked out on a live stream when I called him out. Unfortunately, he deleted his stream a few days later, so I can't link you guys. Chase says he paid $300 for the program. He doesn't see anything. Well, if you actually paid, then you will get access, Chase. Welcome aboard. Welcome for finally getting to your senses and coming aboard. I don't discriminate against anybody, so you're welcome to jump in here and see the results of the tests. I'm not showing how to trigger the multivariate environments anymore, of course. That would be terribly bad. Then some more name calling happens between those two guys, which I will ignore. More name calling between them goes on. Okay. I'm trying to look for actual questions for me. If you guys have any actual questions, SEO questions for me, I would be happy to. Oh, it was someone else's name, Nipple Sucker. So he wasn't slagging me off. Okay, I apologize, Chase. I thought that was directed towards me. You'll forgive me if I didn't have too much faith in your decorum. Jesper asks, is there a transition time now for testing, even in maturation style testing? That is another secret I have to keep. There is a variable time flux in which you use depending on the method you use. We've generated numerous methods of doing single variable testing still in this very hostile Florida environment, and all of them have a different time. So some are very short, some are very long. What short and long means, I'm not going to mention the actual time. It could be anywhere from a day to a week to a month. Chase says, Josh, I bought the $300 sign up. What do I get to get in? Do you mean when? He doesn't seem to understand basic questions. Do you mean when do you get to get in? As soon as I see it, if you actually signed up. What do you get when you sign in? You get access to the group, all of our scientific testing we've done so far, all of the recommendations based off of them. Facebook resources, we have paid traffic resources, we have basic HTML and CSS resources. We have the best discount for Korra, which is the best correlation SEO software out there. It's a real correlation SEO software, unlike some people's other copies of them that they tried to rip off. Things are really going crazy in that chat right there. You have access to all that. You've had access to, there's a basic environment where basic HTML, basic CSS, basic Photoshop. We have tutorials on all that. We have teachers on all that. So basically, it's a complete one-stop shop for your environment. We have how to make profit off it. We have proven models for making profit on it, for client services SEO, for running your own SEO, for SEO on your own sites, for affiliate sites. Periodically, I release the hottest niches that are going on for SEO. So it really is the full-stop shop of SEO groups that is proven by science. And that's the most important part, guys, that forget everything I just said and forget all the other SEO groups. The thing you should be asking them is what is your evidence? What is your testing methodology? How secure is your testing methodology? Can it isolate all the variables? And what is the proof that using your methodology is going to get you rankings? If you go to bit.ly/SEO proof, that's our proof. I'd love to see other people's proofs. I challenge you to find a single group that recently has that kind of draw and that kind of results in terms of their in the field actual site results. So I'm putting Chase in a timeout for now, just so that somebody stops arguing. Okay, Mike says, hey Josh, do links to the homepage help ranking inner pages if the inner pages aren't directly linked from the homepage? It's interesting. I don't know how you would think that would help rank it. Again, I don't know under what paradigm you would think that those links would help the homepage rank the inner pages. But again, I need to keep some of the recent testing off of the show there. Carrie says, how do I swindle noobs out of their cash like Chase? I'm not going to grace that with an answer. Jack says, so it's not a multivariate environment. The way Google is crawling and indexing is multivariate. Sounds like the test results are skewed unless you know how to get past the new indexing environment. Yes, Jack, you're entirely correct. So if you don't know how to, it's not get past the new indexing environment. There's no getting past the indexing environment. You have to now understand the indexing environment, and that's the indices, the plural indexing environment. If you don't understand the new indexing environment, you can't run tests in the new indexing environment. And if you don't really know how to do that and you don't want to join the group that is getting the results from it, I recommend you go to paid traffic because SEO is essentially dead. I recommend that people are still ranking pages now, but look, let's come back to this. Listen to this video and come back in a year or two, and we'll see how many people are still doing SEO who are not actually doing SEO testing. I predict in a year or two, those pundits will move over to paid traffic. I'll warn you now, you need deep pockets to play in paid traffic, especially when you're doing testing at first. Kevin says, screw this. I'm going to check out Chase. By all means, go ahead. Pranav Minon says, how can I get a refund? I don't know. From whom? You're not my student, so I don't know who you're asking about. Now there's a complete war going on in here. If anyone has any real questions, any serious questions, please go ahead and put some asterisks in front of it. I would love to answer real SEO questions. Chris Ramsey says, Josh, does map embeds and map stacks work? Nope. What about IFTT syndication boost SEO? Nope. Or at least this info in the group? Nope. 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 Those don't work. I will let Darren say his wise words from Indiana. No, sorry. That's all been tested. None of that works. None of the rumors out there work. None of the hot things work. You shouldn't be following hot trends like, oh, we should do big silos or virtual silos or fluffer links or puffer links or skyscraper content. All of that is bullshit. All of that is complete and utter bullshit. It's complete untested, except for in my group where I have tested them to some degree, depending on what those things mean. Sometimes they mean all the same thing. Sometimes they mean something wacky I wouldn't even bother testing. So no, none of that works, and you need to get into a testing group that's testing these things out. If these guys are saying they're doing scientific testing for this stuff, great. Then you need to go and ask those guys what their evidence is and what's going on. Okay, so let's go here. Let's figure out how to use, whoops. There we go. Let's make this camera bigger, just because you can never have too much Josh face. No, yes, as a matter of fact, you can. And now we'll go back to reading this. Okay, so now everyone is seeing all the crap going on here. Greg says, fluffer links for the win. No, I'm afraid not. Darren is in the house. Yes, Darren is in the house. Chris Rogers asks, hi Josh, I know you use Korra. What are your thoughts on stats? I guess you mean statistics. Here's the problem, is that you can make statistics about anything. The basis of Korra is correlations, and correlation is not causation. It's just not. Now, don't get me wrong. I think very highly of Korra. I really do. And it is hands down the best competitive analysis software that's out there. And it is hands down the best SEO correlation tool that's out there. It's gone astray a little bit because it's the science it's based off of is off, as I've proved in numerous videos here. But the and using it as a measurement tool is 110% spot on, perfect. It's what our group uses. It is the only tool out there that does proper correlations and does proper measurements. And if you've done the testing to know what the variance, if you've done the testing to know what your tuning should be, then the measurement tool allows you to tell what you need to add or remove from all the different factors. So it definitely is the best correlation software that's out there. And you should definitely use it. If you want to try it out, go to bit.ly/get-Korra. That's for 25% off. Our group has, because it's our primary measuring tool, our group has 30% off Korra. That's right, 30% off of Korra. Join our mentorship group. You can get 30% off Korra. We also have free accounts, demo accounts that are released once a month, or at least they have been. We'll see if the creator of the software is going to continue doing that. And then lastly, if you need one report here or there, you can always get a report from us. You just say, hey guys, I need this report. We'll run a report for you. So you can definitely see, you can definitely try Korra out. You can definitely see how it works. The new Korra looks awesome. I will fully admit 110%, and I can't wait for it. It looks great. And you can also buy Korra reports on Fiverr for $5. So there's no reason you shouldn't be using Korra. There's no reason why you shouldn't be all over the Korra train for sure. That being said, it is not an SEO research tool. It's maybe the start of SEO research. It's not research in the scientific sense in that it doesn't have a hypothesis it's testing. It's not conducting experiments. Correlation is not causation, and so and other SEO scientists from MIT, in fact, Lee Witcher has admitted, and I fully agree with him, he's correct in this regard, that you have to be very careful taking Korra's correlation data and thinking that that's all causal and then assuming it's causal right away. That can definitely, Ted is totally correct when he says that Korra is a good place. He says the only place. It's not, I think he said the only place. I can't remember what he said. Never mind what he said. But Korra is definitely a good place to start getting your hypotheses to test. Like, I wonder why that's correlating so highly. Let's test it to see if it's a ranking factor. That is totally correct in my opinion, and I agree with entirely. But giving correlation statistics as if that proves anything in SEO is a terrible, terrible mistake that certain groups are doing right now, and is just as bad as the Guessio that they're trying to fight against. It's not scientifically interesting, and it's not scientifically researched either. Jesper says, it's not a problem for SEO that Google updates their algorithms. Websites that are best optimized still rank best. Yes, ours do. So as a testing society, I guess we must use test cases that resemble real pages. Well, that's a good question, Jesper. Maybe. We'll see. I've got all different kinds of test pages that I'm testing, and we'll see which ones give the better results, but I've found ways to do... There's pros and cons in each way. I can't get too much into that because it starts to give away some of the secret sauce. But yeah, there are different kinds of testing pages. People in the past have used Latin, for example, the lorem ipsum text. Google knows about that one, and I wouldn't use it. Quite frankly, the magic, there's a lot of magic there. Let's just put it that way. So, well, Jesper, you're in my group. We'll discuss more in the group that I can't discuss here. Eric says, basic red apples. Okay. It's the red apples example from my classic red apples examples. If you have 500 unique red apples to sell on 500 pages, do you mention red apples on every page with the rest variable? No. I don't know if I understand what you mean. It's not such a basic red apples question for me, sadly. If you have blue widgets, this page, Green apples, this page. Red pears, this page. Every page should have its own topic for sure. That's definitely kind of the way you want to do that one. Yorku Shawn SEO. For more information, please join my group. Yorku Shawn SEO says, is keyword in specific spot like span tag what Korra strong correlate is ranking factor? Yes, in some cases. They test many things. Hundreds and hundreds, 500 to 600 things. No, I don't know if this guy's trolling me or not, but this is the funniest thing I've seen in my life, or one of them. Yes, correlates many different ranking factors. That's a good example of one of them. Desi, the Russian hitman, says, I'm new here. What you say about link building? I say it's very, very complex. It's very complicated. I do have testing results that show 3 to 5 times boost from our link building methods. It's a method that nobody else has. It's a method that nobody else knows, that I've seen or heard in all the groups that I'm going in. And so we definitely have a huge feather in our cap. It's one of our shining achievements for testing link building and how you can really boost that power. So to definitely join my group, I'd love to tell you more about it. But I can definitely tell you it's a ranking factor. And anyone who says you don't need links, well, they clearly are not ranking in many niches. They clearly don't have any experience. Pranav Menon, who I believe is I'm not sure if they're joking or not, says science is fake. I'll just let that statement stand. From your lips to God's ears, Pranav. Christopher Risme says, I got in here late, just making sure in the replay I will hear what it's all about. I didn't hear anything in Florida. Yes, this is all in the Florida update. Go back, read from the beginning. You can rewind this and watch from the beginning now if you want. Ryan says correlation does not equal causation. Correlation is that you see trends. That's completely correct. Chris Rogers says, sorry, GetStat. Moz acquired them a little while back. I don't know who GetStat is. But you only sell apples, but they are all different in many ways. So keep it to basic title, page 1, red apples dark, page 2, red apples light. Again, Eric, I'm sorry, I don't understand what that means. Mike Calvin says, are there any uses for GSA or X-Rumor these days? No, not really. I wouldn't waste your money on GSA or X-Rumor. There's some black hats still using it. It's super, super specialized, super, super difficult, super, super finicky to do it and exist any longer than a month. Unless you're fine with existing for a month and you're just doing a churn and burn. But that strategy in and of itself is extremely problematic as well. Time consuming, costly. You're making a technological bet with Google. Every year, I've been doing this for many years. I've known black hats and white hats. And every year, the number of black hats gets smaller and smaller, and the black hat conferences get less and less. So for guys who are, and gals who are doing this kind of thing, and I know them personally, and I'm not going to mention any names, but a very big black hat that has been on the show before, and that everyone here should know who I'm talking about, basically is kind of scrounging around trying to do things, and is definitely not in the heyday that they once previously were. Calvin Lee asks, how would you sell SEO versus PPC? That is an excellent question, Calvin. I just did a course on that. Our SEO 101 course for my mentorship group, we have an SEO 101 course every month. It's the last Thursday of the month. And the fourth Thursday of the month? No, it's the fourth Thursday of the month, whether there's 5 Thursdays or not. It's the fourth Thursday of the month. And that's the exact course I just did of that, plus much more extended. How do you run your own SEO agency? How do you... what should you go for? What's better, affiliate or agency? How do you handle clients? That kind of a thing. So definitely join the group, and I have a whole course waiting there for you to take a look. Desi says, I nailed it. Just like Chase, he was roasted by almost 100 plus bloggers in January for saying link building does not work. The industry is not. The industry does not have any vacuum of young men willing to make verbose claims and strong claims, myself included. Great. Glad to hear it, Desi. I don't think we have any Russian hitmen in the group. I don't know. I'm hoping your tagline is a joke. But here's the thing, and just to play devil's advocate for a second, to defend Chase, heaven forbid I'm going to defend Chase. All the people who came up against him, though, and said that link building doesn't work, they don't have any scientific basis for their claims or statements anyway either. So it's kind of like children arguing against children, really, at that point. I mean, it's yeah, the bulk of the field evidence and the legacy historical evidence would suggest that links still matter. The evidence came out for Florida would suggest that links still matter. But at the same time, everyone who came up to roast Chase, except for me with scientific proof, and a few other people with scientific proof, because this was back months ago when there was robust testing groups. Now there's really only one, myself, who's doing any really, that understands, and as far as I know, who understands the multivariate environment. I could be wrong there. Maybe everyone else understands it. I don't think they do, though. I monitor their communications. I check their stuff. And no one else has even talked about it and noticed this update since Florida. Never mind have dealt with it. But I could be wrong, whatever. But the people who are roasting Chase there were equally as clueless as Chase is. So it's not really fair to Chase for anyone to say anything without a scientific basis. And that's kind of what I'm trying to get across in every show, is that SEOs should have a scientific basis for what they're talking about. And they should be able to drill down and point out some evidence, both of public front-facing evidence and in the private for pay, here's the actual tests we're doing, or something closer to that, and then be able to show what it is they're doing. And I don't see any other groups doing that at all right now. SEO seems to be totally and completely snake oil. It's always had a snake oil element. Now, for some reason, although SEO testing exists, it seems to get even more snake oilish, and it's getting more snake. That should be an indication to you when SEO seems to have bifurcated now into a science kind of testing group with my group at the top, doing more of the real science, and then just otherwise complete snake oil. That really should tell you something about the industry, that SEO is not dead yet, but it's very close to be. It's very close to being, and I'm going to tell you that. Tough love. I'm going to tell you that right now. Like I said, if this SEO stuff is difficult for you, you're having trouble with it, start looking into Google Ads, and you're probably going to have to pay the Google tax. Everyone who's not looking into Google Ads now, start looking into Google Ads. SEO is not dead, but it's getting pretty close. I'm dead serious, so I would strongly recommend it. Matthew Moss says, will AI get so intelligent soon that SEO will be extinct? Yes, if they want us to be extinct. The only reason why we existed previously is because they didn't care. So yeah, it is difficult. It's definitely difficult. Kyle says, hey Josh, do you remember last year in the SEO Signals Lab Facebook group when you said we were best friends? That was like the best day of my life. Sorry, Kyle, I don't remember it. But I'm glad you were happy. That's fantastic. Okay, go ahead, keep the questions going in there. Any serious SEO questions? We've got just a couple minutes left. Let me go back up here. Someone actually produced a site for me to look at. Let's see if there is any site in here that I think would provide something interesting to talk about or good to talk about. So Van and I have been talking about this site here. So let me share my screen. So turn the camera off. Off. Camera off. Boom. Display capture. You guys should be able to see this. So he's going for SEO in Atlanta. I told him, of course, it's going to be very, very difficult. It's going to be somewhat competitive. This is a site also that is having some issues getting indexed with this latest update. So I'm also asking Google about that and try to figure out what's going on there. So the first thing here is results driven based on science. That's good. Getting this site going is fantastic. Of course, he's just starting out in the group with that. I like the, this is a good landing page. So obviously someone taught you how to make a proper landing page. I wonder who it was. Here's some sales value propositions, right? Here's a good sales value proposition. Here's the cost crossed out. limited time pricing. Get your SEO audit book now. It's social psychology has proven there's a number of factors here that will help. 1, it's left to right reading. 2, it's above the fold. 3, it's got good sales value propositions, or at least you would hope so. 2, it's got the price crossed out. 3, I can't remember what number I'm on. Beta, Gamma, Quattro, limited time pricing. That's good. These are all the sales tricks that you're supposed to use on a landing page. So that's fantastic. The image should be to the left. The sales value propositions, the price, and the call to action button all has to be seen in the same time. It could be a little tighter so that you see it above the fold. Here's the thing. The picture is supposed to sell the dream. The dream could be getting the SEO audit with that Google Analytics traffic flow right there. But the dream is actually making money. And I think selling the dream of making money is actually a better way to sell the service. That's what the business owner wants at the end of the day. Yeah, they want an SEO audit, but they want the SEO audit so that they can make money and not have to worry about stuff. So I don't know. You'd have to split test this. And when it comes to CRO, split testing is the single variable test. And you need to split test this to see if selling the dream, if selling making money, if selling not having to worry about SEO and it just runs, and your SEO worries about the SEO, you need to see if that's the better way to go than showing a screen with the data and the news that they're going to get. It depends if you're targeting business owners, you're targeting other SEOs. Pretty much a lot of my customer base is other SEOs. For the most part, I've always been kind of the SEO's SEO. Even if they white label my audits and resell them, that happens a lot. Or a lot of SEO companies come to me because they don't know what's going on and they want more of a heavy hitter in science and things like that. So it depends who you're selling it to. Selling to other SEOs, this might be a good picture to do, but selling to business owners, you might need to tailor it more to the dream of what it is they want to go for. And that, at the end of the day, is making money and having peace of mind, I think, more than getting a report with data that they're not going to understand and talking at them with more of the garbly-gook. So, folks, thanks very much for watching SEO Hangouts with Josh Baczynski. Tune in next week at Thursday at 1 p.m. Pacific, where I will give you more information as much as I can. Have another presentation for you or share more information. I could do more audits at that time or ask your questions, answer your questions. I might turn off the haggling and debating a little bit more. There's enough haggling and debating in the industry right now. As you can see, it's very contentious. And that is also an important point to keep in mind. It's very contentious for a reason. It's very contentious right now because there's a lot of SEO snake oil going on. And so we have SEO science having its own internal fight about what science is. And that's going to happen. That's what science does, right? If you know any scientists, they all argue and debate at conferences. Academics do too. But the other side of the equation is we have a bunch of snake oil who have no scientific claims. And so these guys are fighting in themselves. These guys are fighting back and forth. That, again, should show you that the knowledge gap and the knowledge cultures, to use a postmodern term, is completely different in those two groups. Which one are you going to make the bet on that they have the evidence to prove to you what the ranking factors are if you want to continue to do SEO? Which one is the one that's being honest enough to tell you guys, hey guys, if this is too much for you or not for you, maybe you should look into paid traffic? Which one is the one that's telling the truth? I don't know, you guys decide. But thank you very much for paying attention. And if you have any other questions, please email me at joshbaczynski@gmail.com. If you would like to join my science group, please go to secretseo.guru. Or again, you can email me at joshbaczynski@gmail.com if you have any questions at all. I would love to hear from you. And as I always say, good luck in the SERPs. And for those about to rank, we salute.